Hello all my rad friends and welcome back to another video. Today's video is the Battle of the Disco Pants. Sounds very dramatic, but it's not. So there are a lot of different types of disco pants on the market right now. So I bought several different kinds and I want to compare them. This was kind of self-interested because and my old disco pants that I bought from American Apparel before they went bankrupt are all starting to wear out, and I'm getting kind of desperate because I'm gonna have to start replacing them, and they don't make those anymore, right? The company went out of business and was bought, and the production methods and everything has changed. And anyway, there's a lot going on, and I wanted to find out which pair or which company I should go with in the future. So I bought 3 different pairs from 3 different companies, and I'm going to compare them to the old ones, just because I think it's handy to have like a standard to compare them to. And I know I really like these, but just talk about each pair. And I'm going to be dividing the video into 3 parts. The first is going to be quality, the second is going to be fit, and the third is going to be style, which kind of will like go with fit, but I think that there's a lot of difference between them, even though on the surface they may seem similar in a lot of ways. If this is your first video with me, hi, I'm Lexi. I love fashion and I love having fun with fashion. I'm, in my late 30s and trying to figure out like how to dress a little bit less just like ripped jeans and old band t-shirts and a little bit more grown up, but while still retaining my like sense of fun and like that alternative edge to my fashion, and also not just focusing on doing a ton of hauls. And I try to minimize as much as possible the amount of new stuff I buy, and try to buy responsibly. So if that sounds awesome to you, you should subscribe. But let's get started. First thing I want to talk about are what brands I got. So the first is American Apparel. The company does still exist, and it was bought by, I don't know, it was bought by somebody, some probably big corporation, and the pants are now available on Amazon only. Like they have their own website, but if you click that you want to buy, it literally just links you to Amazon to buy. The second is from a brand called Los Angeles Apparel, and they are made in the same factory where American Apparel is made, and they make a lot of the same clothing, like exact dupes. So they're not American Apparel, they're Los Angeles Apparel, but a lot of people have found that the basics that they were loving, they can now get at Los Angeles Apparel. But as we'll get into, these are not quite the same as they were. And the last, my high-end brand, is this company called, I believe it's pronounced Rezek Studios, and they have a whole like disco, they call it a hustle pant, but it is, you can see a disco pant, slightly different. This one has a bit of a flare leg, so it's a slightly different style, but it's the same idea. They also make matching tops, and I would love a matching top, but these pants are, I think, like $250. They're a lot, and the tops are the same. The Los Angeles Apparel ones are around the same price they always were. I think it was about $80, and the American Apparel ones are like this. The prices vary. I don't really understand why. They're normally like the high end is $70. I got this particular pair in this particular size was like $38, and it would be random, like random pairs at random colors and random sizes will be less than others. So I don't really know if it has to do with the amount of stock they have, they're trying to get rid of it or whatever. So you would assume that the quality would go along with the price. And for the most part, you were right. The first one, Rezek Studios, I found that the zippers, the findings, the buttons are by far superior to the original disco pants and any of the other pairs. I also thought the stitching was really nice. The fabric was stretchy but sturdy, although a little bit looser in its stretch than I guess I'm comfortable with or I'm familiar with from the original disco pant. And overall it was well constructed, except the hem. The hem on these is just a raw edge. And at first I thought maybe there was something wrong with the pair that I had, but that is not the case. I went back and looked at the website, and if you zoom in very carefully into the picture, They are just cut off. Now the fabric is cut off, but they did put I don't know what this is called, a stitch across the hem or at the bottom of the stitches so that it doesn't like unravel, but the fabric is not hemmed. And I don't know how I feel about that. It could be an intentional design to make the end stay kind of like loose and floppy because of the nature of this, or even stretchy. Although the seams are stretchy, it's not like if it was sewn, it wouldn't be stretchy. But the nature of this type of hem here, maybe it made too stiff of a shape. So perhaps they left it cut because of that. With the amount of stitching and design that goes into a lot of their other pieces, especially like their corset bustiers, I find it hard to believe that they were trying to save like 25 cents a pair of pants to not hem it. So maybe there is a point. I'll get into this in fit, but they're also a little bit of a cropped length, so perhaps they wanted it to look like it had been cropped with scissors. But I don't know. That is just something to note. If that's something that bothers you, you're not going to like that. And that was not apparent from the promotional materials. Moving on to the Los Angeles Apparel. These are, in all respects of quality, the findings, the stitching, identical to the original disco pant. And I think that $80 is actually a good value for them. If I recall correctly, they've been $80 for like 15 years. In order to keep wages at a good rate for their Los Angeles workers, I wouldn't have been surprised if they raised in price to like 100, 110, something like that. Just inflation. Inflation goes up, prices got to rise, but that is not the case. They've stayed about the same price. So Los Angeles Apparel as a company seems to spend a lot less on marketing and things like that. So maybe they're able to cut some of their overhead costs, because I don't see them advertised anywhere. In American Apparel, you couldn't go anywhere without seeing their ads. So perhaps that is how they keep giving a fair wage while keeping the price the same, essentially reducing the price with inflation. But I find that the quality of the zipper, the quality of the fabric, the quality of the button is very good, and it's on par with the old disco pants, and they're exactly what you would expect for a company that says high quality basics. They're high quality, they're well made. The fabric has already, though, there is one spot where the elastic has started to come out. Oh wait, that's a cat hair. Never mind. So the elastic has not started to come out. If you watched my previous video I did about disco pants, you know that over time, the place where they start to wear is right here, and some of the elastic fibers tend to start to fray and stick out of the pants. But if you want to know more about how I think these wear over time, I think that other video is one that you want to watch. Moving on to the American Apparel, the modern American Apparel. So I was kind of shocked when I felt these because the fabric is very different. This fabric is more akin to like a legging fabric. The actual construction and the sewing and how the seams are made is good. They didn't cut any corners. All the seams are bound and the edges are overlocked. Like, they didn't cut any corners with the construction. The button is now silver. I don't know if that was a cheaper choice than the black, but all previous disco pants, the button has always been black. So that is of note. I think that the best way that I can find to show you what I'm talking about is I'll compare them to this. This is a pair of American Apparel made in the USA. I don't know when they were from. I know there was a period of time after they were bought when they were still manufacturing in America before it moved to Guatemala, and now the garments are made in China. I bought these secondhand, so I'm not sure when they're from, but they were made in America, and they pretty much feel exactly like the old ones from pre-bankruptcy American Apparel. But I want to show this to you. So this is the American Apparel, the old American Apparel made in USA, and this is the made in China. And you can see this is like a thicker fabric. This feels like pants. They feel like stretchy, kind of spandex pants, but they feel like pants. This felt like leggings. This is a much thinner material, and it also has a much larger degree of it feels like there's more stretch. It doesn't feel as much like it sucks you in that great way that I love. It's part of the reason why I love disco pants. And because of that, and this kind of has to get in with fit, like it showed more like bumps and bumps. There was less of a smoothing effect, which is like what I love about disco pants. So I thought that these were not because I got the one pair for $38, not a bad price, right? Especially if you're looking for the style, and especially if you want to wear them more like leggings. If I had bought one of the colors or sizes that was like randomly $70, especially in comparison to what Los Angeles Apparel can provide for only a few more dollars, I would feel like I don't know if I really like them. Just the I don't know. It's hard for me to quantify how I feel because I don't like the fabric choice, but I will say the construction is still decent. So there's that. Just I think they cheaped out on the fabric. Now let's talk about fit. This was where I was the most surprised, actually. I thought that I knew what I was getting into. I thought that they were all going to be fit pretty similar, and I was really wrong. Starting with the Rezek Studio pants. Now, these obviously are the most different fit, but not like disregarding the actual leg, because that's something I think we can get into with style. Let's talk about the fit of this portion. Now, if you don't know how like underwear and pants are made, basically anything that has a crotch seam, there's something called the crotch curve, also called the C curve. And that kind of dictates how a pair of pants is going to fit around your butt and crotch area. What that means is that for a given circumference of a pair of pants, around that area, they're either going, if they have a longer crotch curve, it's basically saying they assume you have maybe a larger butt that sticks out more, or with a long, which would mean a longer crotch, and then narrower hips, or you have wider hips and a shorter crotch curve, meaning like a flatter butt. Every person is shaped slightly differently. Besides length, there's also like the angle of the curve and all these other things that you can get into when you're making your own garments. But, you know, a lot of those problems are mitigated by having stretchy clothes. I think that's a big reason why so many clothes are stretchy these days, because a mass market retailer can be assured that it would fit a larger range of people. However, these did not fit me very well at all. And they were awkwardly baggy in the crotch, which means that C curve is too long. One of the reasons I really love disco pants is because I feel like they actually fit my body well. I have very wide and high hips and kind of a flat butt. That is the way it is. And that's one of the reasons why I've loved disco pants. These are made for someone, I think, with a slightly narrower hip and a slightly bigger butt for the same circumference of hip that I do at the same size. So I think if that's you, that's great. And these are going to fit you probably a lot better than the traditional disco pants. And it is not just a question of me not pulling them up high enough. If I pulled them up any higher, I was going to get a camel toe. And I a little bit did get a camel toe. And like I said, it's just because these pants aren't shaped for my body, and that's okay. But what I found because of that, it was like a little weirdly baggy in the crotch, and then it was tight around my thigh. And then because they're a wide leg, it was loose after the top of my thigh. So I found that basically just really accentuated the width in my upper thigh, and it not in a flattering way. I mean, all of these pants are tight on my upper thighs, and it's not that I think like, oh gosh, the size of my thighs. I'm perfectly happy with the size of my thighs, but it's just weird to have that part of your body accentuated, and this was not a flattering cut for me. But if you have the problem where the American Apparel pants, if you find that when you wear tight pants, it goes down in the back, and the front comes up high, but it goes down in the back, that means that the C curve or the crotch curve is not long enough for you, then these are going to be great because I think that they would give you a lot more. And in fact, they came up too high in the back for me. So I highly encourage you to buy these if that is your fit issue. Moving on to the Los Angeles Apparel pants. These really surprised me. So if you go through, how do I best describe it? Let me first move to the new American Apparel ones, and I think that will, talking about it in that order will make more sense, and you'll see what I mean. So the fit of these is exactly the same as the fit of the original American Apparel disco pants before the bankruptcy. So that means that these fit me exactly perfect, and it made me realize that it wasn't just the style that I love about these, that it's actually the fit, because they're actually designed to fit someone maybe with a really high waist like me and a kind of flattish butt. I have, I don't know, something like a 14-inch rise, and these came up to my natural waist and they hitched above the hip, which meant that they didn't slide down. They never slid down. If you guys can hear anything, my neighbor is shoveling, but we're just gonna continue. And so I really love that these at least had the original fit. I was not happy with the fabric, but the fit was, I loved it. Now, if you read through the Amazon like reviews of this product, one of the things that people don't like about it is that fit. They don't like how high-waisted it is, that maybe they have low hips and they're maybe 5'2". This is gonna come right up under their boobs, and people said that. The legs are also quite long and they wrinkle around my ankles a little bit, but I'm also 5'7" and I'm pulling these up really high and they're still a little bit short on me. So that is something else that people complained about. I think, I mean, there's lots of people complaining that the fabric has changed, they're not the original ones, etc. But I found those two complaints the most interesting. That's what I love about those pants, because they actually come up high enough on me and they're actually long enough on me. But I feel like those complaints informed the design of the new disco pant by Los Angeles Apparel. Los Angeles Apparel, I don't know if they just wanted to better serve their customers after taking feedback. Well, the original, it's not their customers, it's a different company, but the customers of the original American Apparel, and they wanted to listen to that feedback, or if they were like legally not allowed to copy the exact same design, so they had to make some changes. But these do not have as high of a rise, and it drives me nuts. They are not high enough for me. My hips are quite high, and I want my pants to be maybe an inch above that or a half an inch above that to hitch on top of my hips, and these were not high enough. I kept pulling them up on the sides. They were constantly kind of starting to slide down. I kept pulling them up on the sides, and you can see they dip down in the center, because how high they come in the center is how high the rise is, and you can see that that's not up to where I want to wear my pants. For some people, they would think that that's really high, but for me, it's just the smallest point of my waist, and it's just right above my hips so that they don't slide down. Also of note, the leg length is also shorter, and I found the leg opening to be slightly larger. If you look at that, you'll see that it is slightly larger, and it gave, especially because it didn't go all the way down to my ankle, it just gave a little bit of like a cropped, like flared bit. So those are the differences in fit that I found. If you like disco pants and you want a straight leg skinny style, but you don't have as high of a waist, or you're not as tall, then these Los Angeles Apparel pants are going to be really great for you. But if you're like me and you really need that extra high waist and you really like the long length, then you might want to go with the disco pants from American Apparel that are being currently produced, just noting that the fabric is going to be slightly different. Or you can try to search out old pairs, but it's getting really hard to find it. And the only way you can tell now if they were actually made pre-bankruptcy is that if they're in a colorway that is not currently being produced by Amazon, because Amazon sticks to basic colorways, whereas the old American Apparel would do specialty runs of different colors, such as purple, teal, polka dot. I've seen black with white stripes on the side. I have those. A blood red, a bright blue. I've had those. Yeah, did I say polka dot? I think there was even a leopard print at one point. Point is that if you really like the original fit, you're gonna wanna stay with actual American Apparel. If your hips are not quite as high as mine, I have like absurdly tall hips. If you are like shorter and you have high hips, you'll probably be fine with the Los Angeles Apparel. But if you're tall like me and you have absurdly high hips, the Los Angeles Apparel could work. I mean, I'm going to keep wearing these because my old original black ones are worn out, but it's like a little bit obnoxious. The difference in the fit of these doesn't bother me enough to not wear them. I'm going to keep them. I'm going to wear them, and they're fine. And it's not that bad. I'm making out to be like, oh my gosh, my pants were just falling off me, but it's not as comfortable as the original, because the original are like the only pair of pants I own that I don't have to constantly pull up. So there you go. That's the difference in the fits. Now, let's talk about style. One of the reasons I wanted to make this video was that I was watching another YouTuber talking about fashion items she thought that were like definitely out were disco pants, like the regular American Apparel, like skinny fit disco pants. And that she thought that these like sort of style, like wide leg disco pants were much cooler. I mean, I don't overly care what someone at least 15 years younger than me thinks is cool. I'm obviously not at the height of fashion. I'm at the point in my life where I'm just trying to dress how I like. However, I do see what she meant, because the way she was depicting the disco pants was the way that they were worn like 10, 12 years ago. Basically as like pants, but like regular jeans, but just really, really tight, which, you know, skinny, super skinny pants are not really stylish right now. However, when I wear them less like a skinny jean and more like a throwback to like a 1950s kind of pinup style, but through the lens maybe of something a little bit more modern, maybe like 90s or something. You see these kind of in various like tacky characters, which I kind of love. Alabama Worley in True Romance wore like a really high-waisted pair of like pink leopard print pants. Star in White Oleander wore a pair that was like similar. I think it was like similar to this color. And, you know, just like that sort of Sandy from Grease wore like a black pair. Just that sort of kind of, yeah, pinup-y almost like trashy vibe, which I love. But so that's when we talk about the style of these new Los Angeles Apparel pants. And I feel like they've tried to walk the line between doing what they were doing and still keeping that vibe, but updating it a little bit, which is why the rise is not quite as high and why they're a little bit cropped. So I'm like half of the mind that they were listening to reviews of the fit and half of the mind that they were trying to update the style a little bit. So you can see that it ends several inches above my ankle, and it kind of like flares out a little bit. It gives it a little bit more of like the look that's popular now. I'm trying to give it like a more of a playful air maybe with that little croppedness. It's also not quite as high-waisted, so you don't get like the super pin-up-y look. You get a little bit, if you don't want that really, really high-waisted look. And then you have, of course, the traditional American Apparel, which, you know, new fabric, new fabrication place, but same exact style. And this is hard for me because these did fit more like a legging just because of the choice of materials they used. And so I felt like a little bit less like I was wearing high-waisted pants and more just like leggings without anything covering my butt, which is, you know, I have some leggings that I do that with, but that's what it felt like rather than really high-waisted pants. But that style is a little bit different. I think that with the high-waisted pants for style,
Editing Lexi here. I just have to jump in and say that I misspoke, and it's going to be really confusing if I don't correct myself. I meant wide legged, the third style being the wide leg style. They are all high-waisted pants, obviously. Okay.
I don't think, well, I don't think that that style in general looks really great on me. I have a video about sort of like wide leg pants and trying out different styles. I think when I have something that's like tight at the top of the thigh and then looser down below, for me it accentuates kind of like this this like upper curve, like my quad, I like very developed quads. I don't know, it just like accentuates like a very strange part on me, and I feel like it draws attention to like my flanks. I don't know, it's a weird thing. But anyway, I would personally like this style a little bit better if it were more of a maybe an actual bell bottom, or if it was a little bit looser in the thigh. I don't know. And then it would be weird with the fabric. I mean, I think that just for my body, I think I've just discovered that for my body shape, these don't work. But the style being a slightly wider leg, I think that if you want a little bit more of a right now kind of look and you want to have like a modern look, I think this is a good take. Also, if you look at some of the ones that I referenced, like Violet and Jawbreaker, I love that she's kind of got these disco pants on in one scene, but they are a little bit like looser in the bottom. I don't even think they're actually disco pants. I think they might be like satin, but a very similar, super high-waisted, very tight fit, and a little bit bigger through the bottom. I think if you like want that look, these are a good choice for you. Those don't look really good on me, so I have found that this actually is a little bit of a happy medium. I felt a little bit more up to date in these, vice this original style I think is really great for a pin-up-y look, but I have found actually that I really like the style of it being a little bit shorter and like that tiny bit of a flare. I felt like a little bit more up to date in this than this. But when I do my pin-up-y styles, when I do my really like retro kitschy, I want to look like a tacky Peg Bundy sort of look, this is really good. So I think that in the future, if I buy colored ones, I think that I'm going to buy ones that are the original fit, because I like that fit for that look. But if I want to get ones that just go with my more rock and roll look, which is what I generally use the black ones for, I think I would be totally cool getting the Los Angeles Apparel. Even though I didn't quite like the fit at the waistband, I think actually showing a little bit of stomach in the middle somehow, I don't know, made me feel like a little cooler. I don't know. I just felt like the cut, it was very subtle, but the cut might have been a little bit more up to date and a little bit more like Y2K, a little bit more rock and roll, a little bit more fitting for the way I wear them. The way everyone wears them is going to be slightly different. But anyway, that is my take on the quality, the fit, and the different ways that these subtle like variations in fit can make a very different style. So I hope that you have found this video useful or interesting. I know not everyone in the world is as obsessed with disco pants as I am. Oh, you should do a video comparing them. And I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. And then I saw that other YouTube video where someone was talking about how they hate disco pants. So I was like, now I really have to do them. So I had to compare them. And anyway, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you again in the next video. Okay, thanks.